Ride Review for Backrooms, 10-second review. This is probably going to give people phobia of the 90s or old-timey stuff, 80s, 70s. It was very trippy and it kind of brought back maybe unresolved trauma.
I think it was twisty and I fell asleep through a lot of it. I don't know yet. I gotta watch it again.
This is the Ride Review for Backrooms, and I didn't know what to expect. I wasn't part of the whole YouTube phenomenon that it did, but a lot of people have this nostalgia for 90s and 80s, and I was born in the 80s, lived through the 90s, and I don't have that nostalgia that people do. I don't miss those times. I can admire the aesthetic, like sometimes like the way it was filmed when it was in VHS, but even when we lived through that time, I always thought VHS looked like crap, and so I was like, okay, well, at the time you don't think anything could look better, you just kind of deal with it, but as things progressed, I always loved the improvements, and even in this one, how they shoot back from a VHS style, and then they go back to like the regular, now what looks like super clear 4K. I thought it looked amazing, like the color contrast. I like that there was that contrast from the modern look and then to the old-timey vintage look. But other stuff too is like I don't consider myself a hoarder. I don't like clutter, and so seeing like this stuff, it's like, God, it's it's unnerving to me. And the colors and everything and the way it looked and just the vibe of it all, it was just, ugh, I didn't.
It was cringy.
Yes.
That it was. I also, born in the 80s, grew up in the 90s, but I like the nostalgia. But certain kinds of nostalgia, like looking at the old furniture and things like that in there, does not bring me any kind of joy. Lisa Frank, or like pretty colorful things and like Rubik's cubes and blah blah blah, that all does.
Okay.
But you're right. I honestly didn't even pay attention to that stuff when I was watching the movie.
What stuff?
Like how it was filmed and how like you see the old timey stuff and then it comes to the new.
Oh no, yeah, I loved it because and then also because I always think VHS looks like shit, and so when it went, I was like, damn it, I can't tell what the hell's going on or whatever. And that was the very beginning. The intro was all shot in that. I was like, okay, and I knew from the trailers like it was going to have something to do with that, but I was like, I hope not too much of this is filmed in this style. Like it's more for effect, and it was just more for effect, which I did enjoy. But you can instantly tell the contrast once it flips back to the modern look. Like, damn, this looks way better. Like you can tell they were doing it on purpose to make the other one also look not as good and not as clear and vibrant, and it's just old and just gives it that
cheap, dirty feeling of covered plastic couches or plastic covered couches.
Yeah, although I do think it works for horror movies, and I think that's why people have that nostalgia also for some of the old horror movies, because I don't know, the grittiness of it just adds to the effect. And sometimes when some of these movies are modernized, like let's say Nightmare on Elm Street, and you now see it in 4K, it reveals all these other details that like I guess weren't supposed to be there, and now you can tell it's kind of not
right
as good or not as great, or it doesn't have that same feeling. But I love the way things have progressed, and as far as special effects, I like that we don't have to rely on the grittiness of the camera to do so. But yeah, I did enjoy it because it made me feel so weird and like.
Maybe that's why I fell asleep. Maybe I just shut down. No, I was actually sleepy, guys. I'm actually gonna ask you like about this movie. I don't know. I was asleep for a long time, for like 30 minutes, and it was an hour and 30,
I know,
so I
it's like,
got like an hour of it maybe.
yeah, and you fell right in the middle of
Oh yeah, like I woke up and like a bunch of stuff had happened, and I was like, uh-oh, yeah, I'm done. Like there's no point in staying awake. So what was it about?
So essentially, this guy that owns a furniture store, and I guess it's kind of struggling, but he's going to therapy because of he just feels his life isn't what I guess he thought it should be, and I don't know if he was divorced or something like that, and so yeah, essentially he's just trying to keep his life together.
But the back rooms, are they the back rooms of his like thoughts and
That's
head?
what I was wondering, and that's why I was wondering if they were going to be different for different people and stuff, and I guess I don't know if this. I don't know if this will count as a spoiler or not, but
Oh, okay.
it wasn't that. But it was still very interesting, and the ending is a little trippy. I don't know. We would discuss it because that kind of does reveal. Well, like you can already tell it wasn't by person, like because
Okay.
the different people that enter, it's still the same thing, at least for the most part. But they do reveal that, or you can kind of tell that the different changes were done intentionally, like someone moved stuff around or whatever. So I don't know. I thought, and you see this from the trailer too, how they kind of go through the portal through like a door or whatever.
Mhm.
I thought there were going to be more like other connections, and there didn't seem to be.
And I guess that's what I want to know. Like, what is it about? What is this movie about? Like, I know what you just said. Like, I knew all of that stuff, but what is the whole movie about?
He ends up mentioning. He does end up mentioning. So he ends up disappearing in these rooms, and his therapist goes to look for him because he hadn't been back, and he had told her about it, and she didn't believe him and whatever, and so she goes looking for him, and then has this whole uh, thing with her. He ties her to a chair, and there's other
Yeah, I saw that.
creatures
But,
there.
like, so it's not about getting lost in your own head?
No, not necessarily that. It almost was, from what he made it sound like, was just like almost like a time capsule. It's just things that time has somewhat forgotten, and it was something at one point, and now you are.
Is it memory?
Yeah, something like that, because that's why he was talking about the people that are, or the creatures or whatever you want to call them, that are in there are semi disfigured, but it's almost like not a. It's a disfigured like a blurry memory almost. So like you kind of don't remember them quite all the way, and so it's kind of that
Oh, interesting.
weird disfigurement.
Okay.
And that's kind of what I got from the ending too, when they
Oh,
that
well,
last
don't show it.
that last shot. I was like, oh, interesting. But the set design was so cool. I can't imagine like if this was practical effects, like if they actually built these whole sets.
Seems
One of them
pretty intricate.
one of them in particular was insane. I was like, oh my god, and that was very terrifying. Also, I don't know how like weirded me out so much, but it did.
Dang it! I have to rewatch.
Yeah, and even you fell asleep through one, like not even this movie freaked me out 3 times. Like in the very beginning, you missed it, like right before you you walked in, like the first intro, like one guy I guess that was stuck in there before, and he's like trying to escape and whatnot, and then it was a jump scare, but it scared the crap out of me. I was like, holy crap! And then that's where it cuts to the intro, and then later too. There's a scene with a Christmas tree, so watch out for that one. And I was like, ooh.
Dang! Oh my gosh, I missed all of it, guys. I'm useless in this ride review. I'm gonna ask you questions then. All right. What life lessons does this story illustrate?
One thing I did like was from the therapist, and we've it reminds me of a Shrinking, because you guys have seen the show Shrinking. It's pretty much she ends up doing what therapists aren't supposed to do, and he essentially is trying to get more answers from her, like, why the hell is my life the way it is? And she finally kind of caves and gives the non-therapist answer. And she essentially tells him, because you don't take accountability for anything. Everything is always somebody else's fault. And those of you that know, like, I've repeated this before, that I think accountability is one of the things that we're either losing the most, or like nothing is ever anybody's fault anymore. It's always because of somebody else. And in psychology and therapy, I understand it can come off that way, but I still think there's a point where they're trying to lead you to your own conclusion, but sometimes I think you just gotta stop beating a dead horse and just flat out say it. Like, you have to take responsibility for this stuff that is happening in your life, and that's pretty much it. So take accountability.
What was the best / worst decision made?
He had these two other people that were helping him film a commercial, and he has them come back in with them to the back rooms so that they could use the camera and record it. And see, that was another interesting thing, because I can't tell what time period this was in outside of the back rooms, because they show some guy that later has some connection to the back rooms, and he's having like dinner with his family, and it's in front of the TV, and anything outside of the back rooms still has a very 90s vibe, but it's still like the time hasn't forgotten it yet. Like the couches are still very floral. Like I don't know, the decor of it all. The TV was a tube TV. It was into like a big flat screen, and nobody had phones, which was another thing I noticed. There was phones ringing. There was like an actual phone ringing, like a wall phone. And the only phone that I remember they showed was like an office phone, and you could hear like the voicemail coming in. So I don't know if there was actual technology
probably meant to be like that,
yeah,
so it
I think so.
confuses you.
Yeah, I think so too.
It's ambiguous. It's, what do you remember from this?
But that's what made me think, because when he takes those two kids or those two other people to film in there, in my head I was like, why is this guy just using his phone? And then like I started noticing, I was like, oh, nobody freaking has phones here. Like this, I can't figure out what time period this is in. So that made more sense as to why they had to take a camera.
And that was the best decision?
No, that was the worst. Because after that, like, that's when things got, like, totally...
Oh, you see that, and that's where I fell asleep.
Yeah, totally out of it.
Okay. And the best decision made?
Dang, best decision.
Can I come back to that one?
No. There were no good decisions made.
Oh.
I guess at one point, like, the guy was kind of an alcoholic, and he had said he hadn't had a drink since last Friday, so I don't know how long that was or something like that.
But I'm pretty sure that he was lying at that point.
Maybe. Who knows?
I was awake for that one. But it doesn't show how much time passed between his drinking and that. Okay. For the throaty therapist, oops, I don't know. Can you answer that? What communication failure caused the biggest problem?
How the therapist snapped at him. And I guess, like I'm saying, like, sometimes you're trying to get people to come to their own conclusions, and they just are refusing to. And now that she was in a semi-unprofessional setting, like, he was still trying to have her as a therapist, but he has her tied up to a chair, and so she, like, snaps, tells him how she really feels versus how the therapist version of herself feels.
She was going through issues also.
Yeah. That's one that I couldn't quite figure out either.
I don't think all the back rooms were just his.
Yeah. Maybe not.
From what I remember. To me, with the communication failure that caused the biggest problems was his and her lack of, oh, I guess it was his fault. Like his lack, oh dang, was this internal? Hold on. This movie is confusing. Um, her inability to turn off her problems and listen to somebody else's as a therapist, I think got in the way of her effectively communicating with him. Because it seemed to me that her brain was kind of like in all other places. And you would see like when she would disassociate also. And I felt like she may not have been in the right place to give services. What relationship drove the story?
I think it's his own relationship with his own demons, kind of deal. He, yeah, I guess that lack of accountability, or he always thinks it's something else, and like things are happening to him and not because of him.
And I was listening to like some of his session or whatever, and then he like does role playing things and is speaking to his wife, and I don't know. I don't know if it was like a complete lack of accountability all the time, but I think that he really did have poor communication and waited way too long to communicate in the relationship, is what it seemed like. Where does this situation happen in real life?
Yeah, like I had mentioned, I think we're losing a lot of accountability. Nobody likes to be responsible or at fault for something. Just because you don't like it doesn't mean that's not what it is. Like, you have to kind of pull yourself back and see. I almost like to plug in other people in the situation and not be you, and see if you're just as a spectator watching this happen, who would you say is to blame in that little mini scenario? And then once you plug yourself back in, like, oh shit, that was my fault. And again, you don't have to like it, but does it make it any less true?
Notes for X. If we had to teach our son one lesson from this, what would it be?
Yeah, I guess accountability. It seems to be one of the bigger ones there. But another thing I thought while this movie's happening is this is like, I don't know how, it's like a curious person's either worst nightmare or dream world, because when he first enters this place, if you're one of those people that can't not know how something happens or how something ends, that's how this labyrinth starts. And so it's like, you go in and you see this place, and it has some hallway and has some door, and you go through the door, and then there's this thing making sound, and then there's with like a thing making sound with like a speaker, and then the cables lead to another door where the speaker is coming from, and so you go through that, and it's like just some endless thing, and it was just fascinating BS too. I'd be like, okay, that's it. That's all I need to know. I'm out of here. I don't. And
It
I think
reminded me of Meow Wolf, like all
Yes.
of the Meow Wolves that we've ever been to. We've been to two.
Santa Fe.
And Santa Fe in Las Vegas, and it definitely reminded me of the one in Las Vegas. And it was really interesting.
It's like a fever dream or something trippy as hell. I don't even know how else to describe it.
I guess from all that you've said, my thing for notes for X would be take responsibility for your actions. I've always said that to him, and that's just kind of what I'm grabbing from yours. I didn't watch enough to have.
As far as the curious part, like, know the limitations of your curiosity. I always say too is, don't ask questions you don't really want the answer to. And sometimes some of those questions, like, where does this door lead? I don't need to know. I think I'm out of here. Like, that's enough.
I wonder if it could have been him exploring. Nah, I gotta watch it again. Oh well.
All right. Well, that's it.
Sorry, guys. I'll stay awake next time.
Bye.
Bye.